believe it, yeah. It's like popular sometimes. Um, okay. And I'll just put this off. And then, hi guys, welcome back. Remember, we're running whole day today because we're celebrating Heritage Day. And so School Corridors is inviting people to tell their stories. And now we have Naomi Jansen, my bestie. We've been together forever. And so she'll share her story. And so you can just sit there and enjoy what Naomi has to say. And if you have questions, drop it in the chat for us. If you want to say hi to Naomi, you can do that as well. Okay? Naomi, thanks for coming. Lovely to have you here.
Pleasure. Thank you so very much for having me, my bestie.
You look awesome. I like this
Thank you.
dress. Look at this. And long dress. So this is what I'm going to do when I turn 70. Okay? I can't speak about 60 anymore because I am there.
Oh, you can always start at 60 and a half.
Oh, yes. I can start at 60 now. Naomi, so we invited you so that you can just share with us. We just want to know more about Naomi. What is your heritage story? What you're doing on this earth here and everything. And we were chatting just before this. We were chatting about, what were we chatting about?
We were chatting about
our friendship.
Our friendship,
yes,
and a little bit about the train stories and so on. But we started with our friendship.
Yeah, we started with our friendship and how we used to cry. And Naomi, maybe you can tell that story again about on where did we cry publicly? Because I think people deserve to know that you made a spectacle of yourself years ago. Thanks so much. While you're talking, the truth. Hi, Samantha. Samantha's here now.
Hi, Samantha. So the truth is, and Samantha would know this, I never make
Samantha, she's going to confess today. Thanks for coming.
I never make a point of, making a spectacle of myself in isolation. I always make sure that I have somebody who can at least attest to the fact that I had done this thing.
Yes.
And so there we were, Sharon, the one time, somewhere between Retreat and Unibel Station.
Yes.
Must have been.
Yeah, we were on our way to varsity.
I didn't like it during
the train. Where did the train stop?
It could have been Salt River. I have no idea.
Could be Mulberry, could be,
Yeah, so we used to change trains in Salt River and then get the Unibel train from there to Unibel. And pray, obviously, that we arrive there safely with our books and all of so. In fact, we didn't have to worry about cell phones then because we didn't have, in fact, did we even have a home phone?
We had those phones with that you could tap, break, what do you call it? They call it, you guys call it jailbreaking now. You tap, when the phone, I know my parents used to lock our phone.
Oh,
and then we had to tap the numbers like that. Like 7, you like 7. And then the next number, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you tap all the numbers like that.
Oh.
And then that broke, you sort of jailbroke.
Oh my gosh. So even if they would lock the phone, you still could make your call.
We made our calls
and I'm not going to mention names. To protect the not so innocent involved.
Yeah.
But yes, so anyway, so we were on this bus and I remember, to this day we would have conversations that touch our hearts very dearly. It's normally about family, our children, and also education.
Yeah.
But back then, I think it was a conversation about our parents. And so unfortunately, often as younger people, we think our parents have been put on this earth to destroy our lives and to just take the fun out of life. Of course, we know differently now.
Yeah.
They were really just wanting to protect us and they wanted the best for us. And so there, Sharon, you and I were, and I think you were sharing something about your dad and it was something that really emotionally affected both of us.
Yeah.
And we wound up crying.
Yes.
It must have been into toilet paper because we couldn't afford tissues. Yes.
True.
But something caught our tears, and it's one of those things. Although
I think
forget
you were telling about your dad. You were telling about your dad.
I know he was a dad.
Yeah, you were telling a story about, we were talking about our parents, but you were telling about your dad, and I think you went to visit him at his workplace, and you couldn't believe the small...
Yes.
I think the office or something, the small area maybe.
Yes, you're right.
That trigger some memories.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. I remember going to see him and I was distraught because I thought my dad had a very fancy office job, and there was virtually sitting in a stairwell with a little desk, and that was his office. And I mean, I was very childlike in my thinking, and I thought, like, my poor father sitting in that horrible place while, you know, other people had bigger offices and so on. And I remember phoning him from campus, actually.
Oh, okay.
And the conversation went something like, Daddy, I want you to leave that job. Something completely silly. But I remember, and of course he didn't know what the heck I was talking about, but I remember feeling so sorry for him and feeling so bad that my father was going to work every single day, and this is where he sat to earn money, obviously, for the family. And that was, it was something that really saddened me. And I remember, you remember Professor Rich?
Yes, our English professor.
Our English professor at UWC.
Yes,
I think he was the head of department.
Amazing man. Scared the hell out of me though. He was too brilliant.
Yeah, he was exceptional. But at least he sort of took over from Mr. Kokkinis at Steenberg High, like another brilliant mind that we obviously again didn't appreciate at the time. But Professor Rich, I remember going to his office and sharing the story with him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not
he
like
was that kind of the relatable person, approachable.
Yes. So I went and I told him about this, and the poor man just sat there listening to me, nodded, you know, and was really empathetic.
Okay.
And that is another thing that I'll never forget, you know, that the impact that man had on me as this young student. And just listening to me, you know, I felt heard. I felt that he was just being, as I said, empathetic, and that I'll never forget that.
Wow, yeah.
And of course, you and I have had many such moments of sharing really deeply.
We loved crying.
Yeah.
But also about real things, real issues.
Yeah, exactly. We're not watching, you know, days of other people's lives when we are crying.
Yes.
We are talking about things.
Our days of our lives.
Exactly. And so that is why this moment is also precious, because the question is, what is your heritage? What is my heritage?
There we go.
And it's not somebody else telling me what my heritage should be. It is my own lived experience as a South African woman, as a black South African woman, living in.
I'm listening now. Sorry guys, I just have to move with all my tech stuff.
Where are you going?
I want to sit here and see if I can sit on here.
Oh,
then I can look into your face.
Okay. Great stuff. So things are still fine over there, and
no,
whatever, they're not fine.
Yeah,
you need
I
to
think I moved something, but you can continue talking. I think they may still be seeing you, but I may have some madness here.
All right, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, this morning, Sharon, I think I shared with you, we had our Toastmasters meeting.
Yeah.
And I just lost my Microsoft, my micro. What is it called? When you can hear.
Oh, your earphones.
My audio.
Your audio.
Yes, my audio. I just lost my audio. And it's
no, Naomi's still talking, but we're interrupting ourselves. I'm in fact interrupting Naomi all the time.
Yeah,
Your person is shouting even louder.
Thank you so much. Now, this is the man for whom I have lasting respect. Basil, we've got this.
Come show them your face here.
Yeah, Basil.
No, just say hi. Don't touch any buttons.
Just say hi, everyone.
Just say hi, everyone. Happy Heritage Day.
Hi, everyone.
You must look at the camera, Basil. You must look that key out there. Now you're grey. You are grey. He's grey. He doesn't want technology. He's grey. Come say hi, properly hi to the guys. Sorry, Naomi, for that rude interruption.
No problem. These two have been. We are actually live, Basil. And so now people, that was Sharon's better half, and I mean better. This man is incredible. He has tolerated our friendship over the years. He's even brought in some. He has just spoiled us again with some lovely crisps. It looks like Lay's, eh?
It's expensive.
What's the other kind of chips?
Spookies.
Spookies. Yeah, we don't do spookies. So
you were saying your story. Yeah.
So just sharing our story and Sharon, what you've done in particular, just with School Corridor, as you know, I've got the greatest admiration for you. Just taking that on, learning all the technicalities, circle, but you've done it, and so this is just something new as well that you've tried on Heritage Day, and it's really about us just sharing our stories because all of us have a story to tell that nobody else has lived, and that nobody, almost in a sense, nobody else has the right to tell.
True.
And so this is a way also for us to have discovered our own voices through this platform. I mean, you've always been a very animated person, always very high on life. But School Corridor has obviously been a vehicle for you to give even more expression to that. And we're discovering the older we get, the less apologetic we are about just being ourselves and exploring. I mean, it's just the most exciting part of our lives, I think.
Yes, of growing up and getting rid of all those insecurities.
Yes.
Well, we still have some, but
we have some, no, for sure, because we'll stop having those when they, throw dirt on our face one day.
Yeah, we'll be really not here anymore.
But it's just an incredible opportunity to be sharing our story, and I regard myself as being quite fortunate to be here with you today. Normally we sit at the kitchen table for hours. I hardly ever leave the same day that I arrive. And so this is quite fancy, Sharon.
This is very fancy because Naomi's sitting today in the studio.
Fancy.
And like she said, but before, because Naomi has to tell us about her own little, journeys that she's had. But Naomi and I have a very long friendship, and we used to sit up for hours having conversations till early hours of the morning. Now we can just about do midnight. No? Sometimes 1 o'clock.
Well, 1 o'clock is like pushing it. That's when I know. And then it takes me an entire week to recover, early nights, so that I actually can recover from that experience.
Yeah.
It has not sapped the joy, though, out of the visit. It's always been special. It always ends with you still standing at the car and telling me to drive, my windows rolled down, and still chatting. And by the time we get to the main road, I was like, Sharon, you go home. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks. So Naomi's telling us. So Naomi, just tell us a little bit more about you. Like what have you experienced? Hi, Desiree. Thanks for joining us.
Hey.
Desiree.
Hi, Desiree.
And of course, Samantha's in Desiree Phillips. Thanks so much. And you'll notice me hopping because I'm trying to sit on the couch and trying to act like a real interviewer.
That's because you are a real interviewer. Yeah, so you were asking me to talk about who I am. So, I mean, as you know, I'm this girl from Retreat.
Yeah.
10th Avenue.
That.
Yeah, I'm from 10th Avenue. I was born in Craddock Road. We lived there for about 2 years, and then we moved to 10th Avenue, which is across the road from where you eventually moved into. And so that's where I am. I attended Floriat Primary. I was there for sub A and sub B. In fact, I think we used to say stub A and stubby. And did the whole morning school and Marach school thing because that's something else we must actually take to the kitchen table. Why can we not have those smaller classes again like we had
the
then?
platoon system.
Well, that sounds
so
quite
academic.
Irish, actually. Platoon.
Yeah, they use that. That was the term we used there. But now that you mention it does actually sound but regimented, ne?
Yeah, it does. But it worked really well because I think that's how the schools then managed to have the classes smaller, so fewer learners. And we'd attend, 1 week we'd attend in the morning, and then in the next week we'd attend in the afternoon and that sort of thing. And that worked really well. The school day was probably shorter, as I recall. But that worked brilliantly. But one of the things that I always remember is how we used to tease the children, not like as though it would never happen to us. But when we left the morning session and they arrived at school, then we'd say something like, Alfie, 12 in Marach school, I mean, something that's not for public consumption, which is a little bit ugly, that we'd say after that. But yeah, Alfie, 12 in Marach school. And of course, I'd never go home immediately after school. Because, I love people. I love interacting with people. So I just made these friends there. And I forget the name of the street, but the back end of Florian Pyramid, and I'd stay on the pavement there and play with the kids until either my mother would arrive or some auntie that she had sent to go and find me. And then, of course, when you get home, you know what's good, you know what's happening. Port Jackson.
Guys, those were the days.
Port Jackson. I mean, my mother, bless her, she grew this bush, especially in front of the house, Sharon, so that as she walked in, she got herself ready. Because there was going to be somebody who actually did something that they shouldn't have done or didn't do something they should have done. But when I would be collected from the pavement close to Florian Primary, by some other auntie, I knew that by the time I get home, I'm going to get hiding. Because I didn't come home immediately after school. And I still tend to be like that.
You are still like that. Yeah. Your daughter also picked up on those habits, eh?
She has.
Yeah.
She has. But you know what? And if I could just sneak in something here quickly. This is the thing that I enjoy about being single as well.
Yeah.
That there's nobody, telling me I have to be home by a certain time. Although my brother does try. Very protective.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Yeah.
Very protective. Yes. You want to say?
Yeah. You must tell us about the train stories. But now I just want to tell you that this is from Roodepoort, Gauteng.
Wow.
Thanks so much, dear.
We're almost international.
We're right with you in Gauteng now. May you have a blessed Heritage Day. And thanks for joining our chats here. And then she says, I always enjoy the school corridor chats. Also did the middags school, ochtendschool thing.
Okay.
You can identify with us. This is giving our age away. You guys make me miss my friend now. Aww. Yeah. But Desiree, we're very proud of our age. I think, that is what, that stereotype we're trying to break because people want to box you and say, you must be a certain age to have fun. So we're turning that around. So Desiree, thanks so much. Stick around and get your buddies to join us too. Yeah, sorry, Naomi, you will want to...
like and share people. Can people like and share as
yes,
well?
they can.
Okay.
And Rachel Jean. Hi, Rachel.
Your cousin. Hi, Rachel.
She says, hi, Naomi. I'm listening, Naomi. Liquor girls.
Okay. lovely. Rachel, see you at the next yard party here at in Basil's place.
Yeah, we like our yard parties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry for interrupting you, but it's nice to just say hi to them.
Absolutely important. It's really great to have you. It's make the circle bigger.
Yeah, we make the circle bigger. So tell us about when you used to travel to work. I know you use the train, and you used to write train stories.
Yes.
Don't you want to share that with us? How did you start out with the train stories, and what made you every single day? Naomi would put, we would all be logged into Facebook early in the morning to see who did Naomi meet now again. What did she? Yeah, and so Naomi, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. It's actually been fantastic, and I do miss it. I mean, there are times that I actually think maybe I should just go and head off to Eastfield Station or Retreat and see if there's a train that's there and get onto it and go to town and just experience those wonderful moments again, sharing a very limited space with very many people. There is no such thing as personal space. Well, I suppose we also grow up with that. Where if there's place on the dining room floor, there is place for some auntie or cousin who needs somewhere to live. And that's pretty much how we grew up, apart from the fact that we were a number of kids ourselves. In my case, my parents had 5 children and we lived in a council house. But there was always a family member or somebody who needed to be boarding with us. Or who had some calamity and needed a place to stay. And my parents always opened their doors to such folk, as I'm sure you've also experienced. And it's the one thing that I often say, Sharon, I don't think I'd ever be able to be as kind like that as our parents had been. You literally open your home. Somebody arrives there, their home is just burnt down, and they come to you. And they ask you whether you can accommodate them for, and you don't know how long that's going to be. And they've got 2 or 3 children with them. And so for me, that's, I know you've asked me about the train stories.
No. It's her story. Naomi can shape it exactly the way she wants it. I'm just putting the prompts there, just to keep her going. Not that she needs much prompting. No, she doesn't.
But that's part of my heritage.
Oh, wow.
That's what I wanted to say. That's part of my heritage. And I will never, ever forget that for as long as I live. that I've had parents who were generous to a fault.
True.
And at the same time, we never lacked anything. We always had enough food. In fact, and I'm sure this is something that a lot of you can relate to as well. You put in an extra potato for the man op die pad. There was a man op die pad. You know, maybe there's man on the pad. We're actually just looking for free food. But anyway, there was always an extra potato with sticky flakes. He put in the pot for this person who was going to drop in unexpectedly, and we needed to share what we had. Back to your question about the train story. So Lorenzo Davids, who was on campus with us, remember? He is now the CEO of Community Chest, as you know, an extremely generous man. And he started sharing his experiences on the train. So even though he has attained the position he has, he felt that it was actually the right thing to do in terms of how we got to work. Use the method of transportation that the workers were using. And in fact, he has encouraged a lot of the members of parliament to do the same. But of course, those of you on the M5 would know that they're sitting on the M5 and they've got these vehicles in tow with blue lights, and they're basically just getting you off the road so that they could get to the office to do what, even alone knows. But anyway, there was always this thing about having to overtake and not wait in line and sit in the traffic like the rest of us. But Lorenzo started writing these stories. I found myself responding because he's an incredible storyteller and an amazing writer. We are sitting patiently, Lorenzo, waiting for your books because you've got so much to contribute in the roles that you've played over the years as one of the leaders of the Christian Fellowship even at UWC back in the day, and now as CEO of Community Church. Just incredible, and the work he's done with the homeless recently.
Big respect, Lorenzo.
Big respect. Salute.
Salute.
As they
Hi,
say.
Theola. Sorry, Naomi, this Theola.
Hi,
You met Theola.
I have.
Yes,
I have in the park.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thanks, Theola, for being here.
Hey, Theola. Good to see you again. And so, yes, so Lorenzo really was the one who encouraged me to start smelling and seeing and hearing and, you know, all those other other senses. Just to experience what was happening around my space in the train. And so I started, you know, sharing that. And people, not everybody's phone gets stolen in third class on the train, really, because I used mine in real time. I would actually be sharing what I'm seeing and smelling and feeling and so on, because sometimes, you know, somebody's hips would meet mine, and there's just, you know, the color of the some of those old trains, the color of the seat is yellow. You don't see any yellow, Sharon, between bodies because the train is jam-packed. Obviously, people want to sit down rather than stand. So if you saw the slightest piece of yellow between two hips, that was enough space for you to occupy. So you arrive. I've got it. Sharon always likes to demonstrate. I want to make her feel it out. So there's this piece of yellow. So now you stand and you're looking, like I'm telling that person and this person, like, you know, move out of the way. And then you go and sit and you kind of wiggle your way in. And before you know it, you've got your back up against the seat. You're totally comfortable. So people, there's always place. There's always place. And if there's absolutely no place, then of course one has to stand. And depending on what your Sharon? Sorry, I've got to interrupt myself now and share this with you. Do you know that there is, you know, the smell of guavas?
Yeah.
And it's not very pleasant.
Yeah,
It's like the intense
bag of
smell.
bananas.
Yes. It kind of resembles the intense smell of unwashed armpits.
It does, eh?
Yes. And so,
gross.
yeah.
Graphic, very graphic, yeah.
So your senses would be assaulted with this smell early in the morning, and then even then one has to think, well, why is that? Why is this person smelling that way? And it made me incredibly grateful for things like just having running water. that I could actually wash myself.
Yeah, just
That
open
I
the
had the
tap.
space, just open the tap in my house. I didn't have to go and fetch the water. And so what it's done, it's made me a lot more sensitive to people rather than being this critical girl from 10th Avenue, just traveling by train.
Yeah.
Watching children traveling on their own without adult supervision and just, thinking, oh my gosh, I hope they're safe. And then, of course, when you want to get into the train and it's already packed, and the guys at the door, because you have this unofficial gachis at the door, and they would, klim in, mama, klim in, mommy, far. And then one also learns to just get in, summons all the gods to actually help one somehow get in. But I mean, I learned to push my way through, literally, to push my way through life on Metro Fail. Because often the doors would not be closed because these guys would be standing and using their feet and their bodies to keep the doors open. And it's fairly dangerous.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I would just push through and try and get into the aisles because I don't think it's particularly creative to actually die because you've fallen out of a train. It's not quite the way that I see myself going. This happens.
Does.
But
remember,
one also...
I had a sister that was thrown out of the train that time. A friend of ours, his sister was pushed out of the train.
Yeah. So it's dangerous. It's quite dangerous. But in the last while, when you weren't sure when the next train was coming, you had to get onto that train to make sure that you got to town for the next leg of your trip. And for me, it was then heading off to Pardon Island by my city, which was very different. I would have, I mean, it was chalk and cheese. Metro Fail in my city. Absolute developing world versus first world in terms of the service. And so it was kind of nice just to literally have my own seat, which was often, material.
That you could see.
And you could see, I didn't have to collide my hips with someone else's. And so it was like just the opportunity to breathe for those last 20 minutes of journey to get to Pardon Island. So, and a number of people have actually encouraged me to compile those train stories.
I'm one of them.
And that's true, you have encouraged me to do that. And to just put out a book because that's our heritage. A guy getting up in the train and preaching.
Yeah.
And sometimes those sermons were just ridiculous. I mean, we did a little bit of biblical studies, Sharon, with the varsity. I don't know where that man, what geest got hold of him to interpret scripture, but...
Yeah, people. Tell us about that, Naomi. Naomi is also an author. Maybe I should just move on to that quite quickly. So that story, you must definitely write up your train stories, eh? That is something that you must write. And if you guys, you don't write it anymore, Naomi?
I don't, Sharon, because I don't use the train any longer.
Okay.
Now that I have, I was retrenched last year.
Okay.
From my position as a senior travel consultant, which I absolutely enjoyed and had just the most phenomenal colleagues and clients over the years. And of course, the opportunities to travel.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, because that's the other thing that happens, the older you get, the more you actually discover, all those things in life that were bad and negative were actually opportunities for lessons. And one doesn't always see them in the thick of it. But if it wasn't supposed to happen, it wouldn't have happened. And so we learn through those difficult times. In fact, it's only through those difficult times that we actually learn.
Yeah, definitely. Look, and that is what we can all speak about, eh? The struggles that actually only made us strong. And I think that is why we've got such a rich history, Naomi. I mean, all of us, we all have a story. Okay, today we're just making Naomi share her story with you because I'm very blessed to have known Naomi, so I know quite a bit of the story. But now, talk about your writing skills. Now, the train stories, and then you've also authored a book. Don't you want to speak about that first, please?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Sharon. So, a number of you would know that my Jonathan, my oldest
Struggling,
brother.
struggling to say it
My
now.
struggling brother. No. Yeah, so
You didn't say who your brother is.
okay, let me preface that
Oh, your
by saying
brothers.
my brothers, yes.
Mm.
So when I was growing up, I was always known as A.B. Jansen's daughter.
Mm.
A.B. being my dad. So my dad was this itinerant preacher, public speaker. He used to sing at weddings as well. I mean, he was just like out there. It was actually quite incredible. And even when he preached and he spoke, I mean, preaching is public speaking.
Of
I
course.
just think it's actually quite brave to hold an audience. And so I think in a way that's probably allowed me to see that I could do that as well.
AB's daughter.
Yeah, AB. So I grew up being A.B. Jansen's daughter. Well, AB passed in 2001. And I'm still actually known as A.B. Jansen's daughter because when I see some of my parents' church friends at the mall and that, I always go up to them. And what do I say? I'm A.B. Jansen's daughter. Because they might not recognize me any longer. I mean, my hairstyle has changed. You know, I've got about 2 more wrinkles. I've grayed. And so I don't look obviously the same as I did when I was 20 years old or however old when they last seen me. And so that Sharon is also my heritage.
Definitely,
that I can go and say, I'm A.B. Jansen's daughter, and immediately there's that connection. And I can start talking to them as A.B. Jansen's daughter. We've got that common shared history. It's been, of being in the church.
Yeah.
And so it's always a platform from which to launch a conversation.
Wow.
That I'm A.B. Jansen's daughter.
Yeah.
A.B. Jansen, of course, had a wife.
Yes.
Sarah. Abram had Sarah. And the two of them had Isaac, as you know. But what Jonathan did, so Jonathan is my parents' firstborn. We share the same set of parents. He was the firstborn, and he has written quite a number of books. He's quite an incredible individual, well loved by very many people, locally and abroad. And he one day said to me, would you contribute to a story about mommy? And what he said was that as the only girl, you remember things about mommy and know things about her that I don't.
Okay.
As the firstborn son. And I mean, if you know Jonathan, he has a way of stating things that seems to be fairly unique.
Yes.
And so that, of course, hooked me because it is true.
Yeah.
That, I mean, as the middle child, I'm supposed to be really messed up.
She is.
I'm not. Oh!
Little bit.
Yeah, a little bit messed up. Messed up for good.
Yeah, in a good way.
In a good way. So I then thought, absolutely. And so it was easy to write about a woman whom I respect. A woman out of whose loins I had come. A woman who did her damnedest to make sure that we got a decent education. That we went to university. That we could take care of ourselves.
True.
She herself had completed JC, which was Junior Certificate, Standard 8.
That was like a university degree.
And
at the time.
Absolutely. To have completed Standard 8 was quite a big deal because, then she went on to nurses training college and that sort of thing and became this amazing Florence Nightingale. She finished her nursing career at Princess Alice Hospital, which is now the J.P. Marais TV Hospital, on the main road towards Tukai. And that woman, it was just easy to share. And I don't know if I shared this with you before, but the times that I did sit down and write, I actually found myself crying because I was taking myself through those emotions again and allowing myself to remember what she was like, what she said, what she provided, what she was like with other people, her generosity. Because there were also times when I was in Blue Red Mall and people would walk up to me and just start crying. After my mom had passed in 2000. And they were just crying because they loved my mom so much. And she loved them, of course. knows. Our parents just had this incredible capacity to love people.
No, true.
And so yes, I am A.B. Jansen's daughter, Sarah's daughter, Jonathan Jansen's sister now. And of course, Sharon, the day...
Can they see the book? This is the book that Naomi's talking about, that she co-authored.
This is the book, and it's entitled Song for Sarah, Lessons from My Mother, by Jonathan and me. So the amazing thing is this book is also a song for Chrissy.
So cute.
It's a song for Chrissy. So Christine is
mom.
Sharon's mom. It's really an acknowledgement of all our mothers.
And mothers.
It's of all our mothers who have done what they have to make sure that we turn out the best human beings as possible.
Yeah.
And they've done that in the best way they could. Now, at the time, we couldn't understand. As parents now, we understand better. They were really just trying their best. They had been reared in a particular way. That was their default method of parenting. And now that, I'm sure you agree with me, now that they've passed and now that we've become parents ourselves, we understand better.
Yeah. Now all those memories make more sense. The lessons that we learned from them, fully understood. So basically what you're saying, Naomi, is that all our mothers can be identified in this book.
Exactly.
That the book is written, but it actually represents mothers.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's dedicated to your mom.
Yes.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I couldn't have said it better. So when you read this book, you will, and it's not a long read. I mean, there are no pictures in it, but it's not a long read at all.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of pictures.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There are a couple of pictures. But the chapters are short. So Jonathan shares his memories of my mom. I then share mine towards the end of that same chapter. And so our stories kind of dovetail, all based on our own memories and recollections of the same person.
Yeah, to give a fuller picture, eh?
Yes.
And that was nice. Sorry, that kind of got in here.
Of course, always.
Because Jonathan has his own specific style of writing, Naomi has hers, and so you have these two writing styles dovetailing each other and giving you the two perspectives, like from Jonathan's, view of his mom at whatever story or memory that he's sharing, and then Naomi gives her view, and so it makes for good reading. It's like being part of a conversation where you hear the one person saying something and then the next person, just giving you this almost a similar story but from a different vantage point.
Yeah.
So I quite like that technique. It's quite unusual.
It is unusual, and again, thanks to Firstborn, it was his idea, and it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it works well in the book.
It does work really, really well. And sorry, I can't even blame it on the 60 because my daughter is in her 20s and she claims she forgets things. But there definitely are pictures in the book, and if you know my mom, like a lot of you do, or even know about her. And of course, you know your own mom. You'd be able to relate to so much of what we write.
Oh, yes.
In this book, from meals to those hidings we used to get to their commitment to opening their purses and giving us that money for, to get to university. And sometimes there was no money. I remember hiking once. And it was a potentially scary situation because this gentleman decided that there was this very short route to get to UWC, and it was a very sandy path.
Sure.
And
that was
it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, because there was no money, and the first lecture normally started at 8:15.
8:15, yes. 20:08, eh?
8:20.
Yes, a weird time. Actually, we had to literally jump out of the train, run down that pathway.
Correct.
It took us about 10 minutes to get to the first block.
It was quite far from Unival Station.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the one time, you went with me, and I know we always travel together, but for some reason, I was on my own, I was hiking, I got this lift, and this person drove into some bushy area near Philippi, and I was like, but this is not the way to UWC. And he tried convincing me it was. Well, Sharon, I opened that car door, I threw my books out, and I just let myself fall onto the road. Fortunately, it was quite sandy. And picked up my books and ran back to the road, where I proceeded to continue hiking.
Now look at that. That talk about courage, sure, Naomi.
Yeah. So
yeah. I'm listening. I'm just going to check if there's anybody that said, "Hi, Naomi, very knowledgeable lady," says Fiaola.
Oh, thanks, Fiola.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah. Any other snippets? Because are we still working on a possible mystery? What now?
Oh, well, I'll leave that up to you.
No, you can decide who you see there, Naomi. I can give you the names of the people that I see there, and then you can maybe later
We can put the names of people who are alive now into a draw.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I can just give you the name, and you can just decide which letter of the alphabet you want. That the one from Gauteng, that's actually really nice to give her that gift.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there we go.
Desiree Phillips.
Desiree Phillips.
Yeah, Desiree Phillips is the one from Roodepoort, Gauteng.
Okay, great. So, Desiree, what we thought of doing is
what Naomi thought of doing.
The royal poodle. It would be really lovely to give a gift of at least one copy of this book to somebody. And Ms. Phillips, you have been chosen. You're the chosen one today. And so I'm assuming you don't have a copy of this book. If you do, obviously you can then share one of them with someone else. But I'd like you to have a copy of this book dedicated to not just Sarah, but to all our mothers who have done their damnness to make sure that we've become the people, the women and the men that we are today. And this is just a small token of gratitude to our moms. And also I'd like to just give this to you so that you then also have something that you can cherish on this Heritage Day. 24th of September 2020.
Well done, Desiree Phillips. And then Desiree, I suppose you can just drop your email, or you can send me a message on School Corridor, and then I can pass your details on to Naomi, and then we can make arrangements for you to get the book. Naomi just came up with a surprise gift when she came. She said, "Sharon, I'd like to give this book to somebody." We said, "Okay, we'll just decide, we'll bless somebody with the book."
There we go.
Thanks so much, Naomi.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. And so this was, Sharon, just also again part of our heritage and the whole idea around sharing the story about our mother. That I cannot emphasize enough the importance of us actually documenting our stories.
That's the lesson
That's the lesson that I learnt. First of all, that I do have a voice. That it's important for me to use that voice. It's been given to me for a reason. You using your voice in so many different amazing ways. You're making the incredible impact in education, which I hugely respect you for. And now through School Corridor, just reaching so many more people.
And beautiful people.
Absolutely.
Warm community, community builders.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, who can't, just endear themselves? Hi guys! Hi guys! We're here for School Corridor.
Naomi knows the line. So for sure, like you said, that's one of the lessons we can take from you, that we need to use our voices, like you said. You've got a story to tell. And
you've got a story to tell. Exactly.
And then interact with each other.
Yes.
As always.
This is why the friendship has lasted as long as it has, because we give ourselves or give each other opportunities to interact. And one of us will always remember where we had stopped off. And so it works beautifully.
Yeah.
So Sharon, your voice is one that you have used now to further educate, learn, what do you call people?
Education.
Educators. I mean, just the whole SGB thing. I mean, it's so ingenious. The way that you have chosen to use the knowledge you have, which spans decades. and your experience to actually share that with educators to make their jobs easier and to demystify so many things about how the department works and where documents can be found and what they mean. You've just broken that all down so beautifully. So that, yeah, you're welcome. So that young teachers especially, like your niece, Kristen, they're just able to deal with the huge responsibility of educating our future leaders, making it easier for them through just saying, guys, this is where it can be found, this is what it means. And I just think that's incredible. I mean, as you know, I started teaching as well with you in the same year, and it was just, I mean, flying by the seat of one's pants mostly.
Yes. What, Naomi, you must just share that before you share another heritage story with us. Naomi substituted for me when I went to with Krista. I think I was pregnant with Krista at the time. And then after 7 months, I went back. So I asked Naomi, and then of course Naomi had to vacate that position there. And then I asked Naomi, how was the teaching? So Naomi said, even if they paid me 1,000 rand extra that time, we're talking 1993,
Yes.
Even if they pay me 1,000 rand extra, Sharon, I think I need to give teaching a break at this point. Yeah, so we hats off to our teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do not have what it takes, and I had to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
That's something that I had to acknowledge, that it wasn't something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, not the classroom teaching.
The classroom teaching, and yes, not the classroom
teaching.
Because I am a teacher.
Yes. In all other areas.
Yes. But not classroom teaching, and I didn't think it was fair on the children either. Knowing how influential teachers are, I didn't want to be that teacher who had ruined their experience at school.
Yeah, wow.
Because, you know, that wasn't fair. And so I bowed out. And I don't apologize for it, because it's just taken me on other incredible journeys and learnings in my life. I discovered I loved traveling. I came back from one trip, I think my first trip overseas.
You were traveling since varsity days.
Yeah, but remember Lorenzo and I and a couple of people, Joey Fourie, Alan de Surf, Karen Hendricks and so on, we were involved with Campus Crusade on campus, remember, at UWC?
Yes, I do.
And there was an international conference happening in Pennsylvania, I think it was, and we then had to raise funds to pay for our air tickets to go and attend this international conference.
Sure. I can't remember that, but I mean, yeah, I know you guys went overseas.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And so that was my first trip, and I remember I was sharing this with Lorenzo the other day. Oh my gosh, Sharon. So we on the flight, right? And I said to Lorenzo, now Lorenzo, when are we leaving? You know, we obviously said our goodbyes, and, you know, till we meet again, was sung at the airport and all of So Lorenzo, when are we actually taking off? When are we flying? And Lorenzo says to me, Naomi, we are in the air.
Yes.
You know, there are times, and don't laugh so easily, because I'm sure there are times that you just made one big fool of yourself as well. You know, that's what life's about.
Yeah.
We've got to love ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, the takeoff was so smoothly.
I was
never flown before. What was Iberia Airlines, the Spanish airline? We were, I don't know if we had already had reached cruising altitude.
Probably.
But Sharon, we were like this.
Yeah.
And Lorenzo, as kindly as he could, said to me, but Naomi, we are in the air. We've been flying for a while.
Yeah. So I'm going to, Naomi, guys, if you join us late, Naomi Jansen, she's just sharing her heritage stories, and we're just celebrating, you know, ordinary folk like ourselves, like Naomi, myself, and everybody else. And so Naomi's been sharing quite a bit, but if you missed out on the first part, you can always watch the replay. So Naomi, just in sort of wrapping up now, anything that stands out for you about why it's important, like you said, to celebrate our heritage, you know, that we ourselves and our cultures and whatever. Any comments around that? Especially for people who still question their identity as South Africans. A lot of people out there don't want to be, they don't want to acknowledge that they are South African.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
sad.
in their behaviors.
Yeah.
Some people are bold enough to say it. We've got so much crime, so much this, so much that. It's all real, yeah. But to give up on your own identity, I just want you to speak to that first. Just in closing, maybe just a couple of comments. How should we view ourselves as people?
Yeah, that's something that came up this morning as well when I was on our Toastmasters group, as I was sharing with you. Because
what
we
happened
also
tonight?
looked at our roots. And I was like, well, here they are. These are my roots. And so, in a way, I mean, we could use this as a metaphor that the hair that you've been blessed with is the hair that you've been blessed with. Embrace it. I think the tendency is for us to, when we hear the word heritage, there's a scramble in our minds about, who am I in this country called South Africa, this beautiful, beautiful country called South Africa. I mean, as you know, I've traveled to quite a number of different countries. There is absolutely no way I'd want to live anywhere else. Apart from the beauty of the place. You drive back from the airport and there's Table Mountain and you just know you're home. And there's no place like home.
Of course.
And I think of my friendships here. I think of the fact that I can get into my car and in a few minutes' time I could be at Surface Corner with the ocean on one side and the mountain on the other. It's the most beautiful place. And I think what we need to do very simply is, instead of, as I said, allowing the scramble to happen in our minds, is just to actually embrace who we are, what we look like. Not to look like anybody else, not to sound like anybody else, except what we sound like and look like and how we dress. Now, I've kind of, the way that I've dressed here, so I'm wearing on my right foot a Wellington, so to depict the gumboot part of South African culture. I'm not going to do that dance, by the way. I just might break something.
No, maybe you should. In closing, we'll be saying goodbye to now. But just do a few steps there.
And then on my other foot,
with the candy socks.
With my candy socks, I've got the veldskoen. Now, we know that the veldskoen is also part of our culture, and that at some point there were certain people only who wore veldskoen. And I now am a proud owner of a pair of veldskoen as a girl from 10th Avenue Retreat. So it's about, and then I'm wearing this amazing dress.
Yeah, and it is amazing, guys. Awesome.
And so this is my culture. This is who I am. This is
you.
This is
Naomi.
This is me. So my parents, the way I was reared, the food that I ate, that's all part of my how I do life.
I like it. How I do life.
I do life in my daily experience.
Yep.
I get up, I have jungle oats, or millie meal.
All the years, jungle oats and peanut butter.
Black cat. It's got to be black cat peanut butter.
Yeah,
so I think I might have even taken a jar with me when I've traveled, because they don't sell black cat peanut butter in any other country.
Must be black cat.
Must be black cat and crunchy.
Okay, and
must
crunchy.
be crunchy.
Yeah.
So people, your heritage really is your lived experience, and to don't run away from it. Just embrace it. Embrace all of it, because that is who you are. When you try and give it a color, colored culture, black African culture, whatever, it can become messy, and we can start comparing about, and say this one's better than that or whatever, but it's all of that. I love the smorgasbord of who we are as a country. Just
definitely.
Quite eclectic and so on. And that we can actually steal from each other, and so
and just mingle. I mean, it's not
mingle.
It's not even an artificial kind of I saw what you have. It's because we're so, like you say, eclectic. Ne?
Yeah,
we mixed. We have different cultures blending, so we respect and honor those people. If I say those people, I'm talking about people with. If you have a particular culture, we embrace you. We're not saying become like us.
No,
or I must become like you. It's like, yes, you bringing your richness to me.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And so even just braaiing, I mean, I'm sure in some communities, people have never braai, but now it's a South African thing.
Yeah.
And apart from rugby for some people,
Yeah.
being the other unifying thing, there's braai. So the Heritage Day has actually become Braai Day as well.
Yeah.
And so we are known as South Africans to enjoy a Braai Day or barbecue.
Yeah.
If there's anybody
We mustn't just let the bride dominate, and I think that is where we may have objections.
Exactly. And
where they just want to braai and not want to face the real conversations like this, Naomi.
Absolutely. And Sharon, let me also say that when you have your braai and the people around your braai all look like you.
Oh, then it's really a braai that's not heritage.
Exactly. Ask yourself why you've allowed that to happen. And then perhaps even for next year or the next time you have a braai, make a deliberate effort to have around your braai people who don't look like you, people who don't believe what you do, and see how rich that conversation is.
Yes, for sure. Lovely challenge that Naomi's putting out there for us. Yeah, and when we say diversity, we're talking about age and everything, we cultures, age, looks, everything.
Belief systems.
Yeah, languages, belief systems, everything must go into that melting pot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are as a country.
That's the power of South Africans.
Yes.
The fact that we have such a rich history, but often we have to be reminded. And so some people even see Heritage Day as a useless day. Like, why are you celebrating Heritage Day? But I think it's one of those key days. I believe it was necessary to put it on the calendar so that we can be reminded of our, where we come from, the struggles that we have, and how we need to help shape our societies so that we can make this world a better place for all of us here. Okay, so we're not going to go into all the injustices and the struggles we have, but I'm saying we can't lose sight of that. Just your Heritage Day is really not just a party day. It's really about balance, Speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because that's what we are. And I believe any other nation as well. I mean, you don't have to be an historian to actually know about the good and the bad and the ugly about Australia or New Zealand or the UK or the States.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a global issue that for some reason we just refuse to live alongside one another, and we come up with these artificial differences.
There we go.
So that we are divided.
Yeah.
And it's caused more heartache and death and division and destruction than almost anything else.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is just an opportunity to, with you, Sharon.
Yes, with my glass. God.
Your glass. Your glass.
Yes, my glass.
To propose a toast.
Here we go.
To South Africa.
South Africa.
And all the beautiful people.
Ah, that's awesome. To all of you guys, Naomi just salute you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. And before we sign off, thanks so much for joining us, and don't forget we still got 2 more speakers, so when you have time, pop in, although you can watch the replay, pop in, because I still have Vernon Titus, another friend of mine who's coming on.
You don't want to miss Vernon.
Yeah, you don't want to miss Vernon.
You do not want to miss
Vernon. And we have Kayla, Nudi, the youngsters still coming on. So yeah, if you're sitting at home or you're at your braai, you just see us popping onto your screen, then just join the conversation.
There we go.
And thanks so much to all those who commented, Samantha, Desiree, and I think it was Rachel, Zaida, Salke. Thanks, Yazida. She says, I'm still sleeping under that lavender. Best gift ever.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's for you, Naomi. And Evelyn Hendricks says, love this chat. Wisdom in sharing. Awesome, eh?
Fantastic.
So yeah, we're going to wrap up now. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
But do that dance quickly, Naomi, then we can say cheerio. So I'm not going to do the normal, like, this is cool, it's Heritage Day today.
I know, but Sharon,
I just do a bit of it. But 2 minutes, and I'm going to switch
minutes, that's very long.
I'll put the song on for you, and then you can let me put you this one.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the boot off, and the boot can do its own dance.
Here we go. Join us, guys.
Just look at the boot. Just look at the boot. Look at the boot and fuck off.
I must close that so that I can really see the boot. Okay. Here we go.
Brother.